When the ranch was first purchased, it was meant to be an escape, a private retreat from the bustle of the city, with acres of open fields, quiet groves, and at its heart, a wide man-made lake fed by a spring that had been running for generations. The owner imagined fishing from its banks, riding horses along its edge, and perhaps one day docking a small boat for lazy afternoons under the sun. What he didn't imagine was that it would become the starting point for an all-out war with the local HOA. At first, things seemed calm enough. The ranch was outside city limits, but the far side of the lake touched a gated subdivision, the kind with sharp-edged lawns, perfectly matched mailboxes, and a board of directors who took their authority far too seriously. Those houses didn't technically own the lake, but they used it for kayaking and fishing, acting as if they did. The HOA had built a small marina on their side, collecting fees from their own residents. The ranch owner didn't care. It wasn't his business, until it became clear they thought the water was theirs to control. The trouble started when he floated a small houseboat into the lake. It wasn't some massive party barge or loud monstrosity, just a simple, modest vessel, perfect for fishing trips, overnight stays, and evenings spent listening to crickets instead of traffic. But to the HOA, it was a declaration of war. Within hours, angry emails poured in. Demands to remove unauthorized structures and cease unapproved use of community waters filled his inbox. They didn't seem to understand. The lake wasn't theirs to regulate, and the boat was on his property line. The threats escalated. First came the nasty letters, then the phone calls, then, inevitably, the visit. One early Saturday morning, 3 uniformed police officers arrived at the ranch gate. They'd been called about an illegal vessel trespassing on HOA property. The officers are professional, but slightly amused. After all, no law had been broken. They checked the survey maps, noted that the boat was fully within the ranch boundary, and told the HOA to stop wasting their time. But for the HOA president, that wasn't enough. She stormed to the ranch fence herself, shouting accusations about eyesores, lower property values, and violations of neighborhood harmony. She wasn't satisfied with the police walking away empty-handed. She wanted control. She wanted obedience. And she was willing to push until she got it. What she didn't realize was that the man she was fighting wasn't just some hobby farmer with a boat. He was a patient investor, a quiet man who understood leverage. Not just in finance, but in life. He didn't yell back. He didn't threaten lawsuits. He didn't even raise his voice. He just stood there, listening carefully to every insult, every demand, every word she screamed about her lake. And as she shouted, he noticed something. She kept mentioning the HOA's marina, their pride and joy, their revenue stream, their proof that they control the lake. That was the moment the plan began to form. He knew the HOA didn't own the entire lake. They just operated a marina business that floated on it. And he knew something else, too. The marina had been struggling for years. A few calls to local bankers and real estate contacts confirmed what he suspected. The HOA's little operation wasn't making money. Their loans were overdue. Their asset was actually a liability. And that meant it could be bought fast, cheap, and without anyone on the board even realizing what was happening until it was too late. The houseboat, it turned out, wasn't the real problem. The HOA's arrogance was. And he was about to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. Within days, the ranch owner quietly arranged a meeting with the marina's lender. The board president had no idea. She was too busy drafting letters to the sheriff's department, planning emergency HOA meetings, and threatening to sue. She didn't notice that their marina debt was about to change hands. She didn't notice that their biggest asset was slipping away in real time. 7 minutes. That's how long it took to sign the paperwork. 7 minutes to transfer ownership of a note. 7 minutes to go from annoyed rancher to the man who held the keys to their precious marina. But he didn't announce it. Not yet. He let them stew, let them escalate, let them call more cops, send more letters, and demand more compliance. Because when the truth came out, he wanted it to hit them like a hammer. The houseboat sat on the quiet lake, glowing in the sun, while the HOA fumed. The ranch owner sat back on his porch, watching the water ripple, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. For a week, The houseboat floated peacefully, rocking gently under the sun as if nothing had happened. To anyone passing by, it looked like an idyllic scene, a private ranch, a quiet lake, and a man enjoying his property. But just beneath the surface, tensions boiled hotter than the July air. The HOA president had doubled her efforts. She called emergency board meetings, circulated angry newsletters, and even filmed the houseboat from her phone, posting shaky videos online about illegal squatters and lake contamination. Neighbors whispered about lawsuits. Rumors spread that the sheriff would soon haul the boat away by force, even though no law supported it. Meanwhile, the ranch owner stayed quiet. He didn't argue. He didn't show up at their meetings. He didn't post angry rebuttals online. While the HOA president worked herself into a frenzy, he worked on something far more effective: control. The marina debt he'd purchased was no ordinary note. It was a failing asset with an adjustable rate, held by a small regional bank eager to clear it from their books. The HOA had missed 2 payments already. One more, and the bank could have foreclosed. But now the bank no longer had that choice, because the ranch owner did. He didn't need to foreclose. He didn't need to fight. He simply owned the debt, and by extension, held their entire marina in his hands. Still, he waited. The timing had to be perfect. If he moved too soon, the HOA might rally. If he waited too long, they might discover his plan. The next HOA meeting gave him exactly what he needed. Word spread that the board was considering new lake access restrictions that would punish anyone even friendly with the ranch owner. Higher fees for using the marina, random inspections of residents' docks, even threats of fines for unauthorized fishing. The president framed it as defending property values, but everyone knew it was about punishing one man for daring to float a boat where they didn't want it. Homeowners grumbled. Some were tired of paying dues to fuel the president's personal vendetta, but fear kept them quiet. The HOA president had a reputation for bullying, threatening fines, liens, and lawsuits at the drop of a hat. The ranch owner chose this moment to make his move. He sent a polite letter to the HOA board, informing them that the marina loan had been purchased and that future payments were now due directly to him. The note was professional, almost boring, but the meaning was crystal clear. He controlled their most important asset. Panic set in. The president called an emergency session. She accused the ranch owner of extortion. She claimed it was illegal to buy the debt, even though it wasn't. She vowed to fight back in court, even though there was no case. When her own treasurer quietly pointed out that missing another payment would trigger default, she shouted him down. But whispers began to spread. Board members started to question her leadership. And while they argued, the ranch owner kept paying his own lawyers, quietly drafting foreclosure paperwork in case it came to that. He didn't plan to seize a marina right away. He wanted them to know he could. He wanted them to realize that their entire power base rested on his willingness to play nice. The standoff dragged on for another month. The HOA president sent more letters, even called the police again, but each time the officers shrugged and walked away. They couldn't remove a legal boat from private property. The HOA tried appealing to the county zoning board and lost. They tried pressuring nearby landowners to sign petitions and failed. Finally, the HOA missed their next marina payment. They were too busy fighting to remember the deadline. And just like that, the ranch owner had legal grounds to foreclose. He filed the paperwork quietly, without announcement, and within days he legally owned the HOA's beloved marina outright. That's when he finally revealed the truth. A single letter went out to every homeowner in the subdivision. The marina was now privately owned, separate from HOA control. Slip fees would be cut in half. Access would remain open. And unlike the HOA, he had no interest in policing anyone's boats or docks. Homeowners cheered. The president raged. In just 7 minutes of paperwork and one missed payment, the balance of power had flipped. The HOA had gone from ruling the lake to begging for relevance. Their president tried to rally support, claiming this was a hostile takeover. But most residents were too busy celebrating their cheaper fees and friendlier policies. The houseboat remained anchored peacefully at the ranch. But now, whenever the HOA president drove past her own marina, she had to stare at the sign that bore not her name Not the HOA's name, but his. And he was just getting started. The ranch owner wasn't content to simply own the marina. He had plans to turn it into something bigger, and in doing so, to completely dismantle the HOA's authority once and for all. The war for the lake had entered its next phase. The HOA's war collapsed. After calling cops on his houseboat, they missed a payment, and he bought the marina in 7 minutes. Residents celebrated lower fees, while the HOA president lost all support. Lawsuits failed, dues dried up, and the board dissolved. The houseboat stayed, the marina thrived, and he earned millions, proving their attempt to control him sank their own power. The lake was his, and peace returned with profit.